King Charles has done the unthinkable. In a move that has sent shockwaves through Westminster and beyond, His Majesty has stripped Keir Starmer of the title Sir. Yes, you heard that right. The man once knighted for his so-called public service has now been publicly humiliated by the crown. And why? Because Starmer, in a desperate, deranged act of political theatre, has dragged Britain to the brink of war with Vladimir Putin. If this doesn't make you want to stay informed every single day, nothing will. Because what's unfolding is not just incompetence. It's madness. And it could cost us everything. Let's be clear, this isn't just about military posturing or another empty speech in a dusty factory. Starmer stood there, puffed up with arrogance, promising new nuclear submarines and billions in defense spending, while the real Britain crumbles beneath him. The economy is flatlining. Illegal immigration is breaking records. British pensioners are freezing in their homes. And this man wants to play war games with a nuclear-armed superpower? The king has seen enough. Behind palace doors, sources close to Buckingham say Charles was furious, privately seething at Starmer's reckless saber-rattling. The monarch, bound by constitutional silence, has rarely intervened in politics. But this time, he couldn't stay silent. Reports suggest he summoned senior aides and made his position clear. Starmer has disgraced his knighthood. The crown will no longer endorse a man leading Britain toward disaster. Because make no mistake, this is a disaster in motion. Starmer wants you to believe Britain is under threat, that we must prepare for war with Russia. But it's all a smokescreen. A distraction. A cynical ploy to deflect from his catastrophic failures at home. He talks tough about Putin, but can't even stop dinghies crossing the channel. He promises billions for defense, yet can't commit to when, or even if, the money will actually be spent. It's all headlines. All theatre. All lies. And now, Britain is paying the price. We've seen this tactic before. Stir up fear, manufacture a crisis, then pose as the hero sent to solve it. But Starmer isn't Churchill. He's not even a competent bureaucrat. He's a liar in a suit, trying to look strong while our borders disintegrate, our NHS collapses, and our energy bills skyrocket. And now he wants to lecture us about readiness for war. Here's the truth. Britain isn't ready for anything under Keir Starmer. His defense secretary looks bored out of his mind. The workers standing behind him during his speech? Hostages to the photo op. Even his own ministers were staring at the floor, embarrassed by the circus they were forced to attend. Because deep down, they know what this is, an act of desperation from a man who's losing control. And the king, the very symbol of British dignity and continuity, has finally had enough. Insiders say Charles made the symbolic decision to revoke Starmer's knighthood as a message to the nation. The monarchy will not stand idly by while Britain is dragged into chaos by paranoia and political cowardice. This isn't just about protocol. It's about preserving the soul of the nation. But Starmer isn't backing down. He's doubling down. After failing to deliver on immigration, on cost of living, on energy, on healthcare, his grand plan now is to distract the public with war. He wants to shift the blame for his failures onto Russia, onto NATO obligations, onto global instability. But the British people aren't buying it. They know the real enemy isn't on the Kremlin's doorstep, it's in Downing Street. And it gets worse. When challenged on when Britain would hit its so-called 3% defense spending goal, Starmer gave the most pathetic answer imaginable. It's just an ambition. Not a pledge. Not a promise. Just another word for we're not going to do it. Because for all his tough talk, Starmer is still the same weak, indecisive man who U-turned on winter fuel payments, lied about smashing the gangs, and has spent 25% of his time abroad instead of fixing the mess at home. And now? Now he wants you to be afraid. Because fear is easier to manage than accountability. If you're looking over your shoulder for Russian tanks, you're not looking at your empty fridge. If you're thinking about submarines, you're not thinking about skyrocketing rent. If you're distracted by Putin, you're not asking why the hell your country feels like it's falling apart. But you should be. Because this isn't just about politics anymore. This is about survival. Economic survival. National survival. Civilizational survival. Starmer isn't fit to lead. And now even the king sees it. And what happens next? There are whispers growing louder, that Charles may do the unthinkable, use his moral authority to nudge Starmer toward resignation. It would be a constitutional earthquake. Yes. But so was stripping a sitting prime minister of his knighthood. And if this war hysteria continues, if Britain is dragged further into a confrontation we cannot win, the question becomes inevitable. Does Keir Starmer need to go before Britain goes up in flames?
This isn't leadership. It's lunacy. And the people of this nation deserve better.
Ask yourself, what's more dangerous, a distant threat from Moscow, or a domestic disaster masquerading as a statesman?
The mask has slipped. The crown has spoken. Now the people must decide.
Will we stand by while this man gambles with our future, or will we say enough is enough? In another news, Britain is under siege. On Saturday alone, 1,200 illegal migrants poured across the English Channel. That's not a statistic, that's a crisis. A national emergency. A coordinated invasion of young men, not families, not women and children, but fighting-age men who've bypassed countless safe countries to land right here, in Britain.
And what did our government do? They watched.
If this doesn't make you want to stay alert every single day, nothing will.
The numbers are staggering. 14,600 illegal arrivals already this year.
We're on track for 50,000 by year's end. That's a city's worth of unvetted migrants, brought here through the utter failure of political leadership and the total surrender of our national borders. Let this sink in. Every single one of these illegal crossings cost the British taxpayer £40,000 a year. That's over £2 billion drained from our struggling economy, not for the elderly, not for the homeless, not for veterans, but for people who break into our country illegally.
Where's the outrage? Nigel Farage has seen enough.
He's declared what the rest of the political class won't, a national emergency.
The Prime Minister mumbles clichés. The Home Secretary smiles in denial.
The Defense Secretary admits we've lost control. And the French?
They are not allies, they are enablers.
£500 million of your money handed to Paris, and they responded by waving these boats off with a salute.
This is not incompetence anymore. This is betrayal.
You want proof? French patrol boats are now being caught on camera guiding the migrants into our waters. This isn't border security, it's organized transfer. We pay them to protect our borders, and they funnel people straight through. Meanwhile, a lone British fishing vessel is seized by the French Navy.
A fishing boat. That's who they stop. Us.
So let's ask the obvious. If the French won't do their job, why are we still funding them?
The deal is dead. The trust is broken.
And while French patrol boats float lazily off their coast, thousands of able-bodied men march onto our shores, handed housing, benefits, hotel rooms, while British families can't even get a GP appointment or a dentist.
This is not migration. It's an occupation.
A silent invasion that our leaders refuse to confront.
And Labour? Don't make me laugh.
They've been in office for a year now, and what have they done?
Talks. Speeches. Excuses.
Yvette Cooper promises that the French will start intervening.
When? After we've been overrun?
Even Defense Secretary John Healey, a man whose sole job is to defend this nation, publicly admitted over the weekend. Britain has lost control of its borders. That's not an assessment, that's an admission of total failure. The government isn't confused.
They are not overwhelmed.
They are complicit.
And it gets worse.
While our politicians wring their hands, the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, paid for by your donations, is being used to ferry illegal migrants into the UK. Not rescuing people in distress, picking up drop-offs. The full might of MI6 and the European intelligence services can't find a way to stop rubber dinghies from being built and launched?
Please.
That's not incompetence, that's intent. And what's the punishment for breaking into Britain?
A warm bed.
3 meals a day. A taxpayer-funded lawyer.
No wonder they come.
Meanwhile, Denmark, tiny Denmark, cut their immigration in half.
How? No benefits. Harsh punishments.
Immediate deportations. That's what a country does when it has leadership. What do we have? A prime minister who can't even visit Calais, let alone fix this catastrophe. Let's not forget Rwanda, the one real deterrent this country had. And what did Labour do the moment they got into power?
Scrap it. Why? To score points against the Tories.
Meanwhile, the boats keep coming.
And don't be fooled by the sub-stories. This isn't about the nurse who fled persecution. This isn't about the student chasing dreams.
It's about unchecked, undocumented, unknown individuals who may, and in some cases, have brought rape, violence, and extremism to British soil.
And we don't know which ones are which. How could we?
No vetting.
No screening.
Just waves of arrivals, disappearing into communities overnight. And if you dare raise your voice,
you're called racist, bigoted, heartless.
But tell that to the victims. Tell that to the families forced to live next to overcrowded asylum hotels, patrolled not by police, but by fear. This isn't immigration policy, it's national suicide.